All right, so I am going to be showing you guys, I'm going to create a wall as well as a box, and we're going to fracture them, right? So we're going to be looking at the fracture mode, and we're using the arena, the variant shooter or arena template from 5.6. I've set the game mode for the map here to the game shooter and added in the pickups with the different weapons. So if I just go back to the details here, you can see grenade launcher and so forth. All right, and we're going to be looking at adding in the field or in using the master field system as well. Now, I've created this is the default map, and we are currently going to create a couple geometry collections with some uh, models that we're going to quickly create here. Now, I'm going to hit the create tab, go to box. I'm going to make a 400 by 400 cube, a 400 by 20 wall, and that's it. Actually, I'll make a 200 or regular 100 by 100 box as well, just that way we have different things to play with. All right, so now that I've got those guys there, we can hop quickly into the fracture mode, right? And I'm going to do the largest box first. So we're going to create what's called a geometry collection. So selecting the geometry or static mesh inside fracture mode, you can click the new button, and then I'm going to navigate to a folder that I've created ahead of time. This will be a large box, so LG underscore create box, right? So I've got it in chaos geometry collection, right? I'm going to use a uniform fracture mode to start us off. The other fracture modes are going to have this instead of the vary noise. You'll have different settings to change how the cube is all split up depending on the cluster mode, radial, slicing, and so forth, right? And you can even use meshes. We're mainly going to be looking at the uniform one here. Since we want to get the ability to blow these things up with the weapons. So we'll start off, you've got the min and max Vox Volcanoids, which are basically how many the min and max fracture points, right? As you can see, we got 20 right there, right? Now, if I were to click again, right, or click anywhere, right, you can see I'm selecting the individual pieces. Now, you've got the different levels here, and then over here we have the fracture hierarchy. You can see currently where level 1 is the yellow here, level 0 is the blue, or the teal, sorry. Now, going down here, when you click on an object, especially if you're in like a fracture mode, there's the random seed. -1 makes it random. Any other one will allow you to pick the seed itself, right? The draw sites, this is the default configuration, but I find sometimes you get these weird little gray blocks here if you're drawing the noise preview. So I usually turn the noise preview off myself, and then just do the sites, which gives you like little dots where the sites are. And then you've got the diagram itself, which is the lines. Then you've got the noise, which is based off of a Perlin noise, different settings, right? You can control like the frequency, the amplitude. These are all different things that change the way the noise works. And then the number, octave numbers, is basically it's going to use 4 variants of it type idea, right? Then we can just click the word fracture again to do a couple pieces here and there. So that way I can get this here. We'll fracture this one up a little more there. And do it like that. That way we've got that. Right? So I'm going to create or save that one. Right? Now, you can already see here, right? So I'm going to look at a couple things here first, right? So we've got, why can't I select it? Hit T. No, cancel. Let's see here. Let's go to the outliner. For some reason, I can't select the overall one when I'm like this, so I'm going to minimize that, find my geometry collection. That way I can then hop back here, grab the top layer. There we go. You can use Shift, actually, here's a good example. Shift B will turn on and off the show bones, which basically gives it different color. This way you can see the default numbers. This here allows you to explode it to see what would happen there. You can drag it up and use the simulate button here to see what happens when it falls and then how it will break up like that. Let's see here. You can see all the fracture levels or specific ones, depending which way you want. Now, let's hop back up here. I'm going to hit Shift B to show the bones again. Right now, if I were to grab, let's see here. I'm going to go to fracture level and set it to all levels. That way we can see all the different levels again. So you've got the select all, which will select all the fragments. You've got the invert, which will invert your selection. You've got none. And then you've got, if I were to select one of the smaller ones, I can select the parent object, which will be the cluster above it that we've fractured, right? Then you've got children, which will select all the children, right? Then we have siblings, so that you can select all the sibling clusters that you've broken up. If you were to grab the layer 1, right, and I can do level, which will select all the clusters of that level. Different ways to do that, right? Because then you can select different things that you might need to either fracture more pieces or go over options. In our case, I'm going to just fracture up a few other pieces here first. So we'll fracture the wall here. In fact, I'll make sure I make that geometry collection first, right? And then I'll call this wall. And then I'll make sure I put it there. And then I'm going to fracture. That one I'm going to do a couple times, just so that it has a couple different layers. And then I'll do the same for this one as well. That way we have 3 different geometry collections that we can use, right? And I'll fracture this one only 1 layer, right? Save. Now that we've gone over some basics for fracturing, I'm going to put this guy back down. Let's see here. If I were to then go back to box 3, quickly go into the fracture mode again, quickly, Shift B. That way I don't see the bones, right? I can come back here. Now, we're going to give it a quick test, see what happens going on here when we run up in here, grab this gun and shoot. Well, I guess that helps that the wall falls over. But by default, other than certain, depending on the size or thicknesses, right, the typically will also dictate whether this bullet actually does anything by default. Now, these different collections here have different settings. Now, we're going to see by looking at here, right, we can go to the wall itself, open with continue without data flow, or that way. That's one of the newer systems, which will get a little more, like, you get a lot more like windows. This way you only deal with the details panel. If you add the flow, you'll have like 2 different viewports and all the different things there, which we don't need to be looking at. We just want to look at the detail settings in our case for right now. I'm going to lower the damage amount here for each setting. So this is the levels, the amount of force it is required to break up the individual levels, right? So for, you'd want the greater force for larger pieces, smaller forces. So basically how much strain is put onto the object before it busts apart, right? You can control the mass of the object here, so how much it will fall, right? While we're at it, we're going to look at the removal setup. So if I were to click this box here, right, we can see that we can now have the ability to automatically remove things when it remove on sleep, basically. So we first off sleep min and max, right? The how much time with a random variable to when the object stops moving, right? And then the removal duration, right? So how long the min and max duration it will be before it removes the object, right? I'm going to save that for the wall, right? And I've turned down the settings there now because of the thickness of the wall. This should work here if I were to come along. No, well, kind of works, but to some degree. But now that they're smaller pieces, you can see that my gun is actually doing damage, or at least being able to break things because of the force of the actual bullets, right? Now, I'm going to do the, but that's I've also turned down the damage threshold, right? So I went went down to 1,000, right? And then I did 500, and then I did 50, right? And then I'm going to again make sure I turn on the removal and save for that one, right? I'm also going to do the same for box 3, very similarly, right? So 1,000, 500, and then I'll do 50 for the smaller pieces, and then I'll turn on the removal again and save. Right. You can control how heavy you want it, depending on the type of material you apply to these things, right? Now, to start getting the effects that we want as well, technically I also would open up each of these again, sorry. Let me just double click them again. I forgot one other thing, right? Because I want to leave it to the field options, right? I'm going to actually check the, let's see here. No, so I don't want to check this import collision from source, right? So this would be import collision from source asset. So like the impact from the other one, right? So you can turn on and off that there depending on what you want to do. Now, I'm going to jump up to my KS folder here and do another one here. This will be blueprints, right? This blueprint folder in the chaos folder here, I'm going to open, right click and go to blueprint class. And then what I want to search for is a fs underscore master, right? Because we are looking to make a master field. Now, if I were to hit the select, right? I'm going to call this BP, let's see, impact, right? Impact, right? So I can open this up. Now, I'm going to first go to zoom out a little, right? So there's a few settings that we want to kind of look at here, right? So firstly, we want to say instead of delay, no, I'll leave it on delay for right now just so that you can kind of see what's going to happen here when I drag this guy in. I'm also going to go back to the impact and turn on the debug so you can kind of see it when we actually get in here. So if I were to now, you'll see the debug info, but when I simulate now, which if I were to hit play, or not the simulate, you'll see it blows up, right? Just like that, right? So this is basically in a way like a bomb, you could call it. I'm going to turn off the snapping, right? So if I were to put this up here, right, I can simulate here. In fact, even right now I can move this around because it is technically pulsating. Well, I guess it's currently not set to pulse. You could, yes, under the delay here, on tick, which then it would actually tick and so forth. But in our case, we're going to do trigger, right? Because we're going to trigger it right away, right? I'm going to leave the debug on so we can see it. I'm also going to scroll down, right? Because there's a lot of settings here that you could use to change things up. But the main things that we are looking for are actually down here in the you're basically apply linear or angular velocity. So this is like for the explosion, right? So you've got radial explosion, right? So this will be how much it explodes outward, right, in a radial degree from there. You can turn on the direction. Now, by default, this directional force is straight up. Now, to change the way this goes, especially if we were to be spawning this from a weapon, you'd probably want to you're going to need to come down to the directional override. And then for this one, let's see here. Pretty sure I want to zero this one out and put it here. Oh, right. I need to also click the plus. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure I put it back to where it was. There. This way it's going down the x-axis, right? That way when we actually spawn it and don't have rotations, we can actually choose which way it goes. Now you can change the directions here in that way, and then this here is how much force is getting applied to the wall. I'll leave it at its current default, and we'll come back to the impact after we set up the spawning functionality of this, right? I'm going to delete that one, and then we're going to go into our variants. We're going to go into the blueprints. We're going to go to the pickups, the projectiles. Now, this blueprint here is a child blueprint, so I'm not going to touch the new bullets for the other guns. We're going to check the regular first-person projectile. Now, what I'm going to do is find a blank space over here, and I'm going to right-click and create a custom event. So you start typing in custom, grab your event, and then we'll say spawn impact, right? I'll zoom in here and make sure I go back spawn impact, right? Then we want to spawn actor from class. And then obviously we want the BP impact, right, that we made. Now, I am going to split this pin here, and I'm going to just grab the location and drag it back here, spawn transform location, so that way we can actually set it when we call this, right? So up here, just before we get to all the other code, is when I want to actually call that. So I would do spawn and search for spawn impact. You can also get this by opening up here and then grabbing it and dragging it in there as well to call it. So what we're going to do is then grab our hit location, plug that in there, just like this, right? So now this is going to spawn everything there. I'm going to compile and save. Now, what I want to also do is go to the event graph in the BP impact, because I did not add the trigger on the begin play trigger, right? You're looking for CE trigger call function. It's a function of the parent. So we're going to do all the begin play of the parent object as well to make sure it runs as functionality, right? And then we can hit play, right? Now, if I were to hit play and drag this over so you guys can actually see it. There we go. Oh, I have it set to multiplayer, so I've got two. Or no, that's my streaming, right? So you can see now they're facing the way I'm shooting, and we're getting a little bit, they're spawning. Actually, they're not spawning the same way as the bullet. So let's see here. Actually, that's what I should get. So I'm going to go back here to BP spawn, right? We can see that they're not rotating. So I'm going to say get actor rotation, right? Get actor, get relative rotation, get actor rotation. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Compile and save, because now if I were to hit play, run over, grab our gun. Let's see here. self, yeah. Let's see here. Because if I go to the viewport, that should be the facing forward. Yeah. Let me just go to this thing here. I'm going to go to its viewport. Yeah, no, that's the forward facing. Okay. So let's see here. It's technically blueprint geometry. No blueprints. We pull in impact again. If I rotate it. Guess I didn't check that out. But let's go back up to impact by itself. Override direction. Allow the user to. You know what? I'm going to not override it, but I'm going to leave it there, right? Because now I did that and then came back here to our projectile where we, not this one with the actual spawn here. I'm going to get the actors, right? And then I'm going to add, let's see here, drag and drop that in. Oh, no. Let's see. Plus. Let's see here. Get actor rotation. Oh, have I not compiled it? Is that why? A second here. And that might be why. I'm going to see something here. We'll hop back here. I'm going to turn this back on really quickly because I'm not sure if I compiled when I did have it. I'm just going to double check here really quick. No. Okay. So that one doesn't matter. All right. So we'll hop back here really quick. There we go. Then let's see here. I can go into the projectile. Oh, impact. Go to import. See here. System. See here. No, that won't work. Oh. Let's see here. I must mess that up. Let's go back here. Let's see. Turn that off because ultimately, right, we need to be able to, because now I should be able to, yeah, now I can turn it. So I need to rotate this so I would have it. All right, let's see here. So get actor rotation. Let's see here. Get actors. Get you know what? We're going to hit normal. Yes. Let's see here. That's what I'll do. Yes. I'm going to go back like this. I'm going to get rotate vector around no, not angle, rotate. I'm looking for x-axis. Let's see. Make rotate X. There we go. That way, we can now hit play and see what we got going on here. Let's see here. No, that didn't quite work the way I wanted it. So, I see. No, let's add, because I need to. Let's see here. Impact, and then I want on the X to rotate it. Let's see. If I were to rotate this, let's reset this. And you to rotate. Well, technically, let's say we're rotating that, so I'd want it 90 on the. There we go. So let's do 90. Let's see. Let's see here. Can I do math with? Let's see here. See here. It's gonna come back here really quickly. Well, no, the bullet's always going to be facing the way we're going to impact, so I think I'm overcomplicating things. Let's just remove this pin, and I'm just going to rotate this 90 on there and see what I get. This way. Almost. No, let's see. We'll do negative. Well, it's either positive or negative 90. I'm gonna say positive 90. And then try it that way. That way. Let's see this again. Now they're coming back at me. Let's see here. So let's do negative 90. There we go. And play testing as I add it, right? So there we go. Now we've got them facing the right way. Right. Now the only thing I don't have currently is a way to despawn these. So that's where you're going to want to look for life form, or not life form, lifespan, sorry, and set that to like 2 seconds inside here, so that way it'll activate here on your impact functionality, right? And that way, now that we're getting it to spawn in the way we want, you can start playing around with each number depending on what you're trying to have for the impact, right? So if I wanted to, I can now close the first person projectile, the pistol bullet, and I can always come back here now and start tweaking what I was meaning to come and show you guys. We're gonna come out here, right? So I'll put like 10 and then compile and play. Now that we've got the direction that we want, right? And then I can be like, you know, see how it barely moves anything. Minus here now that it's broken up because of the speed of the bullets. Now you could turn off the impact of your bullets if you wanted to. Again, I'll leave that up to you guys. But with that, have some fun creating some blow-up walls and statues and things like that. Obviously, it doesn't need to be cubes. Now, obviously, I'm also going to show you the radius as well. Before I go quickly, I'm going to turn this down. Right, it's always good to play around with these settings. Right, then I'll go over here, pick up this guy. All right, right, so it's a little smaller, but ultimately, because I have it also removing these guys once it sleeps type idea, it's not so bad. Now, don't forget to turn off your debug on your impact at the very top as well. You can also turn down your strain magnitude if you needed to, right? Now, let's see here. If I were to, I turned it down to 1,000. So let's see if I put it at 500 really quickly, if this does anything, right? So coming down here, now one by itself doesn't do much, but you can see now, right? It's not getting as, depending on what I'm doing, depends on how much force it really does, right? So if I were to up this to 1,000 now, or wait, let me just double check. Yeah, I got them all set to 1,000. So if I did like 1,000, but then I can also technically add, more force down here. So in fact, actually, let's do 500, but then I'm also going to increase the vertical force here, right, magnitude to 1,000, right? You can then see what happens here, right? So we go down here. You can see now we're getting a lot better result for our wall, but whoa. There we go. But let's see here. Oh, that didn't go. So I'm going to put this up to 1,000, and then I'll compile and save. Play it one last time. And then, yeah, you can sit there tweaking these things. Now, obviously, I have way too much force, but you can see, obviously, for larger objects, it's not as destructive type idea, right? Now, if you are having problems with the collision, though, don't forget to, you can also turn on or off the impact force here as well. But with that, I will see you guys next time.